there's something I've noticed in the battle between doing good habits and doing bad habits, and it is the fact that being healthy, like a generally quite a healthy guy, can sometimes actually make you a bit more fragile when exposed to the bad habits in moderation. Say you're generally quite a healthy guy, like you meditate, you eat right, and you exercise like 4, 5, 6 times a week and stuff like that. Like, you're generally quite a healthy guy, you get good sleep, and then one day you decide to go on a night out, so your sleep's obviously going to be a little bit bad. You're going to drink, maybe you're going to do a few drugs and stuff like that, and that's probably going to have a worse impact on you compared to the people that have been doing that for years, if that makes sense. And that was just an interesting observation that I thought, and I've kind of experienced this a couple of times as well, especially to do with diet and food. Like, when I'm having food that isn't really good for me, I feel like I feel it a little bit more than people who have been having that kind of food for like a long while. Like, if I have a McDonald's burger, which I haven't had in like 2 odd years or something, and that stuff contains so many unfathomable things that will just be so bad for like my gut and stuff like that, and most fast food like isn't really very good for you at all. I feel like it's going to have a worse impact on my gut and my digestive system compared to someone who normally has that kind of diet, simply because of the fact that I'm not used to it and their body is a little bit used to it. It doesn't mean that they are any healthier than I am, because they're the ones that are having a fast food on a daily basis. That's going to arguably be worse, but it's just the effects of that fast food, the short-term effects that you normally see, like whether it's digestive issues and inflammation and constipation or whatever the hell it is. You generally those bad effects start to fade when you've been doing a bad habit for like a long time. But then obviously the long-term effects are slowly going to start to increase as you've been doing a bad habit for a long time. So when you do a bad habit, for instance, say it's smoking, if you've been smoking for like 2 weeks, it's going to taste a little bit disgusting, probably. I mean, I can only imagine that's what it's like. And you're probably going to cough a little bit, right? And then as you kind of start to do that bad habit continuously and more and more and more and more, then the smoker's lungs literally develop like a specific kind of cell to actually protect itself from the carcinogens inside of the tobacco smoke that enters the lungs. It's actually quite a crazy thing, and it's really, really interesting. But that just shows that someone who smokes is more used to smoking than someone that doesn't smoke. That seems obvious, right? But that means that someone who is normally a non-smoker and is normally quite a healthy person, when they have the occasional cigarette, it impacts them more in the short term than the person that has a cigarette like on a day-to-day basis. Like, a single cigarette doesn't actually impact them in the short term that much. Like, they may not cough at all, they may not dislike the taste, it may be quite a nice taste to them now, they might have like acquired it and something like that. Obviously, for the person that's been doing it for a while, the long-term effects of smoking, we know it's bad, we know it's like lung cancer and all that sort of bad, horrible stuff. And when you've been doing that for a while, maybe it's like 10 years, 20 years, you're going to start to cough again, and it's going to be like, you're going to cough up blood and splutter, and it's going to be horrible. And that's the long-term effects of smoking, right? And someone who only does it on the occasion may not get those long-term effects, but they're just going to continuously get the bad short-term effects as well that normally comes with like breaking into a bad habit. It's just an interesting thing that I've sometimes observed in my own life, like sometimes having fast food on the occasional basis. Like, normally I won't stoop as low as something like McDonald's or something like that. I've not really had that at all since being on self-improvement, or something like a Domino's pizza or whatever. Whole Foods, if I have something where the majority of my daily diet or daily calories has been quite ultra-processed food, I'll probably feel it a lot more than someone who has an ultra-processed diet on a daily basis, and they're going to experience the long-term harsh effects of that bad diet. But because they're used to it, they're not going to experience the short effects. So it's just an interesting thing that I learned about moderation and moderating certain bad habits. Like, obviously, we know bad habits have a long-term bad effect on us, and that will happen to everyone, no matter who you are. But some bad habits, like fast food, have a pretty bad short-term effect if you're like, it can give you digestive issues and stuff. So if you're trying to have fast food in moderation, it just doesn't really work, because yeah, you might not get the bad long-term effects, but you're still suffering just as much from the short-term effects. It can be the same as things like smoking or drinking alcohol with hangovers, etc., or vaping and smoking and stuff. Like, you can use this kind of example with everything, and I just think it's a reason to go all in to like getting rid of a bad habit, like not sort of bowing down to this whole moderation thing that a lot of people talk about. Like, yeah, it can be fine in moderation, but some bad habits do genuinely have quite a bad short term, like daily 24-hour after impact, and you don't really want that. So there's no point in experiencing that on a irregular basis just to get no long-term effect, because it ends up being the same anyway. So you might as well go all in on being healthy with some things, like not having fast food, not vaping, smoking or drinking. You might as well go all in, and it just makes sense to do that, in my personal opinion. And that's the kind of things that I'm doing, especially with my core values with, like, I'm not going to really do drugs, smoke or vape. It just seems a bit pointless to me. And fast food is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it tastes nice, but I'm almost immediately regretting it afterwards, because I can just feel my digestive system is just like, why the fuck did you do that, bro? Like, it was so not worth it at all. And I feel like the only reason I'd ever really have fast food is for a social occasion, and for any kind of social benefit that would give me with the people around me. Because there's just no reason for me anymore to have fast food for any taste-based reasons or for any calorie-based reasons. Like, sometimes, like today, I went out for lunch with friends and stuff, and the food that I had, yeah, it was nice, but like, I kind of don't really want to do that again, because it just wasn't the nicest for how I felt. I felt really lethargic, my digestive system felt a little bit weird, and I wasn't able to do as well in the gym. Like, I don't know if you can kind of notice it with how I talk or act on a YouTube video, if I seem a bit like slower or dumber in the head. Like, maybe I'm not looking at the camera enough, or at least in the relative area of the camera. Maybe my vision's like, I'm looking around and stuff, because my brain's a little bit dopamine fried and I'm looking for that stimulation elsewhere. Maybe you can notice that and it might make sense, but I think they're the little kind of things that no one really notices about bad habits that happen when you immediately after you consume, like sugar and things like that. Everyone only thinks like, oh yeah, it's only like a long-term impact, you're going to get obese and you're going to get diabetes. But no, sugar is actually quite bad for your productivity. Sugar crashes and processed carbs in general cause you to be very lethargic and are very bad for your productivity. And if you want to be productive and that's kind of your goal, especially with studying and stuff like that, then I recommend you stay away from processed carbs, no matter what your fitness goals are. If studying or like trying to be productive is your main goal right now, because that will pay you dividends so much. You'll be so much more productive, I promise you. But yeah, with that, I recommend subscribing for more content like this, and have a good day.